evaluating what your brand is, what it represents to you, and what it is that you're actually doing with it. So, what is a brand? A brand is an effort to give a unique identity to the company's product and create emotional associations with consumers. A brand is a set of associations that are linked to a product range, a division, or company. These associations reside in the memory of customers. These associations help customers understand what the brand or company is, why it is potentially relevant to them, how it is different or similar to other products made by the company, and how it is similar or different from competitors' products. So the overall goal is more so understanding the type of brand that you want to be. Now that you know what the meaning is, so there are only two ways to influence human behavior. That's manipulation and inspiration, and which creates brand loyalty. Now, normally I actually have people, or I ask this question, a lot of people want their brand to inspire, and that's a great thing, but you also have to understand that some brands manipulate. So if you hear dentists, 9 out of 10 dentists say that you don't brush your teeth, they're going to fall out. They're actually manipulating. Um, Here in South Florida, we always get manipulated when there's a hurricane coming because we run to the store just to make sure that we're actually protected. So sometimes our brand has to do some type of manipulation, depending on what your brand is. But you can also morph and manipulate and inspire at the same time. So that's just something that you need to pretty much ask yourself if it's more so in what you want to do within your brand. So every brand has a story, and the key thing is making sure that you ask yourself, why did you go into business? What's your story? What's the idea behind the products or the services that you're actually selling? I think that too often we may have a business and we go out and we sell, but we don't build. And sometimes understanding the brand and understanding what your story is, it makes it so much easier for you to go out and to communicate and to share the story of your brand. So one of the things that I always have my students here in South Florida come in, I have them actually lead, not with their title, but lead with their passion. Because I think that for too long, people come in and they want to tell everybody that they're president, CEO, XYZ. I think that sometimes when you actually share your passion, when you're actually meeting people, it creates a dialogue and it actually allows you to share your story, to highlight what it is that you're doing. Why did you go into business? I think that that resonates with a lot of people that are entrepreneurs, and that's one of the things that I actually try to get them to actually focus. Reason being is that when people come to the program and they're part of the Streetwise MBA or emerging leaders, the overall goal is that your business is at a point where it may be stuck, it may be broken, you may need help, you may need guidance, and I think that once everybody comes to that realization and people aren't there trying to impress other people, it just becomes easier. So one of the things that I actually make them do um, is understand that that successful branding is about promoting strength and passion. And think about it now that you're thinking about your brand. Why did you go into business? Why are you doing what you're doing? Are you providing a service? Are you selling a product? And once you understand, did you take the company over from a family member? Did you go in business with someone else and things didn't work out? Or did you just have this thing that you just couldn't work for someone else and realize that the best thing that you can do was actually start a business, to use your God-given talents in order to move forward. So that's one of the things that when you're actually breathing life into your brand, you have to take into consideration why you started doing what you started doing. And the next thing is making sure that you understand what your strengths are. So I encourage people to actually write down what you believe your strengths are, your own personal strengths, and what your weaknesses are. One of the things that I have to be self-reflected is, when you go into a job interview, everybody goes in and they're asking you what's your strength. And for me, my strength is building relationships. And I remember going to a job interview once, and the young lady that was interviewing me asked me what my weakness was. And I looked at her and I told her that my weakness was cornbread, that I love cornbread with hot butter or with butter once it's hot so it would melt. And needless to say, she started laughing, and I did get the job. But I think that one of the hardest things for us as human beings is to show any kind of vulnerability and being weakness, or showing any kind of weakness. So I always encourage people to be candid with yourself, because this is actually going to help you understand where your strengths lie within your business, and where your weaknesses are within the business. And sometimes we have to self-reflect and realize that we may not be the best advocate for our brand, that we may need to have someone else, come in and help us with the marketing and the actual representation of the brand. So once you actually self-reflect, it's easier to understand where they lie. So I normally encourage people to just do a SWOT analysis, not of their business, but more so of their self. What is it that you do well? Is it, writing? Is it networking? Is it, talking to people on the phone? What are your weaknesses? And once you actually come to grips with yourself, then you can apply that to your brand, because there may be great things that you could actually, that you do, but you're not actually making that part of the actual brand. And I think that what happens with a lot of brands, they become stagnant because they're so focused on selling, 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 as opposed to building. And the more you build relationships with people, the easier it is for you to actually move forward. And one of the things that I encourage people is be candid with your brand story. I mean, companies out there, they don't think about the meaning behind their brand or what makes them different, believable, sustainable. It's like, does your brand add value to a company? I mean, are you B2B? Are you B2C? Is your brand or your product or services helping another company grow, creating jobs, anything like that? It's something that has to be part of your brand messaging, because people like to work with people that actually are helping them build something or making their business look better, by way of the products and services that you offer. And a lot of what I'm going to share now is just, information. A lot of it's self-reflecting, so that hopefully you guys will have an aha moment with some of the information that I'm sharing. But companies spend millions of dollars coming up with unique and compelling logos that define their brands and make them stand out from their competitors. And I actually wanted to just highlight some of those, and you see the cost. And if you will, be impressed, like Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola actually had their brand designed by CFO. And as you can see, they actually just use different fonts to identify their brand. The cost is zero, and you can say Coca-Cola there. But if you look at Google, Google also spent no money with their actual logo. Then you have Nike, and Nike actually spent $35 for their logo. Then you have actually the London Olympics, and the London Olympics actually 625,000, and this has actually become a joke on the internet. For those of you that actually may be as sarcastic as I am, I actually went online, and if you look at this, they have different variations of this logo that represents different things. So they spent $625,000 for this. And then this one is a doozy that I have no idea why, but even Pepsi, $1 million for pretty much a ball. But they did spend, when they went in and started rebranding a lot of what it is that they were doing, you can see that actually they just have a ball. So the overall goal is, how much is your brand worth to you, and what is it you're willing to spend? Now, there are people that spend millions of dollars, and this is one of the ones that they actually spent the most money, was BP, when they went through everything that they went through because of the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico. And if you look at, they spent $211 million for this logo design in 2008. I'm still trying to figure out the meaning behind this, and why they would spend this amount of money. But the reason why I share a lot of this is that your logo, part of your branding, has to have an impact. It has to have a story. I know people that normally when they start out, they want to save money. And what they do is that they skip out and they actually have someone design it, or they design it themselves, or they go on, on a website and they pay $5 for the design of their logo. The overall goal is making sure that you have something that's unique, original, but something that people say you invested time, and it doesn't have to be a lot of money, but it has to tell a story. So if you go in and you look at, let's say, Amazon, a lot of people think that, looking at the Amazon, the arrow in the bottom is a smiley face, but in essence, it's Amazon, pretty much saying that they carry everything from A to Z. And this is a prime example of the evolution of a company. A lot of companies out there evolve. When Amazon started, they actually started selling books. So now it's pretty much they have everything. The added value is I'm a supporter of Amazon, but that's because, right now we've become a society that we want everything quick, we want everything fast. And right now, Amazon Prime is one of the best things that they actually created. But even when you talk about evolution, even with some of you that maybe your business is evolving into other things, Samsung actually started in 1938 in Korea, and they actually started selling. It was an import and export of fish. They sold fish, dry vegetables, and noodles. And now Samsung is actually, one of the biggest, electronic companies. But that's part of an evolution, and sometimes being able to look at your brand and making sure that as your business evolves, your brand has to evolve as well. But every brand, has a story. From Amazon, you have Hershey's Kisses, and on Hershey's Kisses, if you look right now, and I don't know if you see the arrow, but between the K and the I, there's actually a story behind that, and that's actually a Hershey's Kiss right there. So it's some subliminal images that they have, but it's part of building the brand and building the story, and actually communicating with other people what they want their brand to be. Well, just the same thing with your company, with your business. Google, another one. If you look at Google, they actually, the current logo is just a pattern of primary colors being broken with a single letter shown in the secondary color of green. And the broken pattern actually represents playfulness, that they actually don't play by the rules. And this is one of the key things that a lot of people don't do when it comes to building a brand, is that they don't know how to connect that brand into the mindset of other people. Because people follow brands, people are loyal to a brand. I mean, for me, when I travel outside of the United States, when you look at the Coca-Cola logo, you identify that, and it reminds you of something from home. Same way when people travel and when they see the golden arches with McDonald's. But if you look at the Tour de France logo actually contains the image of a cyclist, which can be seen in the letter R, with the orange cycle symbolizing the front tire. And it's right there. Where you look at the other one, Goodwill. The iconic smiley face is in fact the G in Goodwill zoomed in, and they cropped slightly clever. Well, if you look at that, what's behind your brand? What's behind your logo? Why did you design your logo or create your logo to represent? And mind you, there's going to be a lot of information here that I'm going to skip over, but the reason why I added a lot of it was that I wanted you guys to have the presentation and just have some, actually in your own time, look at it and reflect on what it is that you want to do within your brand. FedEx, same thing. And if you look at the E and the X, you see the arrow to show that they're always looking towards the future. Something simple, but it actually, it does get a dialogue going. Baskin Robbins, if you look at the B and the R, there's 31 flavors. The overall goal is funny because you go in there and I found myself counting, and there's times that they have more than 31, but that's all right. But just marketing at its best. Tostitos, if you look at Tostitos, between the both T, the I, pretty much a bowl, and it's just two people actually sharing a chip. Um, so the overall goal is making sure that whatever it is that you're doing with your brand, that you have a story. And we actually learned that a while back. So the name of our company is Emineo Media, and the word Emineo means to stand out, to be remarkable, to be conspicuous. And what we did was that as our business continued evolving, if you look at the E in the word Emineo, that's my business partner's name, Scott Eric Tubbs, and the O is for Orlando, and the word in the middle is mine. And what we do, we're business miners. So we come into your place of business and excavate and find the hidden jewels within your business that you don't even know that exist. It's a conversation piece. It's a communication piece. That's something that we evolved into what we're currently doing. We're business educators. Our overall goal is to make sure that businesses have the the right information to make conscientious decisions. Because our goal is having people, that work on their business, not in their business, so also a pair of fresh eyes. So that's part of the dialogue, that when we do meet people, we communicate and we talk. It's not just selling. So now I'm going to go through some really quick slides. Just the perception of a brand and how sometimes we try to be clever, but some of them are just funny because they're funny to me. But if you look at the brand perception, this is supposed to be full life, and as you can see, they actually eliminated an extra L. So when you read it, it looks like you're looking at Poo Life. Then you have Dear Greatness. And if you look at the way that this looks as by way of a logo, the word that stands out there is RATE, rate. And that's why a lot of businesses have to go back to the actual design table to create something because of what, they may not see. So it's always good to have a pair of fresh eyes, look at some of what it is that you want to do by way of your brand. Then you have junior dance classes. I always discourage people from using stick figures, and it takes people a while to look at this. But it's two figures dancing. But then if you actually look at the outer corner of it, the perception, it looks like something totally different. And if you don't see it, once I send the slide, just look at it really closely. One thing that I encourage people, don't do stick figures with your branding. If you look at Arlington Pediatric Center, that in itself can be offensive to a lot of people. The same way like Kudawara, which is actually in Japan. But if you look at the stick figures and how a lot of this right there, it is just, a brand, a logo that may give a bad misconception because people aren't really looking at it. And then you have Clínica Dental, the dental clinic. And that's another one. The overall goal is making sure that your brand doesn't represent something that's offensive to other people by way of the perception and the way that they look at it. One of the key things is making sure that you understand that people's perception of your brand may be totally different. So you have to make sure that you do yourself a favor and understand that your brand is clear and concise. Even by way of choosing fonts. If you look at fonts, there's a lot of logos out there like Disney. You have Cartier, and you also have Gillette that they just went in with a specific font, and that's pretty much their logo. That's their brand, and even the way that you actually use it. So if you look at this here, this is supposed to be mega flick, but if you look at the L and the I, the way it's so spaced together, it gives another word to it. And of course, it's an older picture, but this is one of the ones that makes me laugh. The other one is if you look at Kids Exchange, by way of not spacing the actual words, it looks like it says Kids Sex Change when you initially look at it. So sometimes it's going back to the drawing board when it comes to a brand. It's making sure that you highlight something, what's specific. Even this is supposed to say fast taco, but if you look at it, initially looks like an R, and it can actually read fart taco, and that's probably what you'll get if you visit there too often. But anyways, the overall goal is making sure that even by way of the font that you use, that there's a meaning behind that, or even the way that it's being spaced, to look at what your brand and your logo represent. So one of the things that I also encourage people, especially for those that are looking to expand into other locations, outside of your own region, please do not use Google Translate in order to reach out to another demographic population. Your intention may not be to offend, but Google Translate is actual literal. Within the Hispanic community, there's words that mean something totally different in other countries than it does to me. But the overall goal is to make sure that if you're going to spend money, have someone that's professional translate. When I used to work with Sally Mae, they used to spend a lot of money in their translation because they wanted to be all inclusive. And just having a tab on your website that says Google Translate, most people will not look at. And for me personally, I wouldn't, because I think that, I'm not a valuable customer by way of looking at something there. And that's only if you're planning on expanding into other demographics, other areas, other locations. So when you look at it, there's companies that have actually tried to translate, and a lot of this I'm just going to go through it just so that you can look at how some things get lost in translation when people literally try to translate something. Um, First one, it's ramen noodles. There's the first one. Second one, urinal. Uh, People actually, what they want to market here specifically to the states may not even look at, or even if you want to market outside, make sure that your brand does not represent something totally different in another country. You have here, it's like in the pronunciation of this, which is shit. Um, but the overall goal is Cola. Um, and these are actual brands that if you research, you'll find some of them have actually started trickling into the United States. Milk chocolate from Uranus, it's out of this world. The overall goal is making sure that your brand doesn't give the wrong, translation for what it is that you may do. I've got raunchier ones, but I kept it clean for you guys. But the overall goal is making sure you understand your brand isn't being translated into something else because it may mean something in one place and something in another. Um, this, here, they were trying to actually bring this into the United States with the name Shido. But if you look at that, it's hard to come in and take a brand like this serious. When you look at it, you may think that it's a joke. So just make sure that by way of your brand, and when you actually start looking at it, that it actually represents the message and it's giving the message that you wanted to give. So one of the key things now when it comes to building your own brand is colors. I'm very passionate about colors and what colors mean because everything has an identity, and I'm not going to go through all of them. But if you look at the word red or the color red, red is a physical color which calls for action to be taken. Its high energy and strength draws attention to itself and demands to be noticed. And when you think of red, you think of Burger King, Chick-fil-A. You look at Pizza Hut, Coca-Cola. Pretty much it's take action. You're thirsty, you're hungry. Come by the drive-through. Orange is the color of adventure, which inspires and creates enthusiasm. It is optimistic and sociable and suggests affordability. So if you think of orange, you may go in and think of the Home Depot. Adventure creates enthusiasm. You may think of Nickelodeon. And one of the key things is understanding and asking yourself, why did I choose the colors that I chose for my business? Why am I doing what I'm doing within the business, and what does that represent? Some of the other colors that, like I said, I'll share these slides with you. And the overall goal is making sure that you guys look at this and self-reflect. One of the ones that I actually want to talk about, is the color brown. Brown is a strong, reassuring color that is comforting and reliable. It relates well to businesses that promote down-to-earth and outdoor products and activities. So when you think of brown, you think of BPS, which, comforting and reliable. And that's why one of the first slides that I shared was the millions that some companies may spend on making sure that what they are created when it comes to a brand, that it has an impact. I mean, a lot of restaurants, you walk into a restaurant and by way of the music, it's so loud because they want you to come in, eat, and leave and go someplace else because it's turnover. Well, it's the same thing when it comes to the psychology behind colors and these color wheels, is making sure that whatever color you've chosen for your business, it reflects the psychology behind it. So here you see everything together of pretty much what it represents, the overall enthusiasm. And this is something that actually, the more that I started going into branding and marketing, this is one of the key things that actually stood out for me of how they spent so much time and effort researching their actual client base, their target audience, in order to ensure that their logo, their brand represents that. And like I said, I'll share this with you guys. So here are a couple of things that I want to share with you guys. I'm not going to read over all of this because I want to spend some time answering some questions and having a dialogue of sorts. So once you identify, start defining your brand, review the products or services your business offers. pinpoint the space in the market. Your brand character should promote your business, what it is, what you're doing, and how it's connecting to your customers. Um, think of your brand as a person. You as a business owner, you represent your brand. For me in my business, um, I represent the brand. My business partner represents the brand, and our overall goal is that we'll go out there. We hold the same beliefs and values. We have a level of integrity. When I go out and I do workshops or any type of training, I'm not there selling. I'm not there, trying to generate business by way of giving a dialogue or communicating to the audience. So when people come and ask questions, I answer and I give of myself because at the end of the day, information is free, and I don't like to hoard information. But I think that you can build relationships with people. So part of our personality is also embedded in the brand. So the overall goal is to ask yourself, what do you want your brand to say about you and your business? Consider also what is driving your business. What does it believe in? What is the purpose? And who are its brand heroes? At the end of the day, if you're helping other businesses grow and you're actually helping them create jobs, then they become the hero. They're the hero of the story. It's not you, it's them, because these are the same people that are actually providing for their families, for their actual um, staff or employees. So that's one of the things that you have to look at. That if your brand is helping other businesses, let them have that title of hero. Try to build long-term relationships. Everything that I've done within our business has been based on the relationship that we've created. I still keep in contact with former colleagues that have opened up doors for me, even though I'm not in the same space. But you have to be clear of why you went into business, why you're an entrepreneur, why you want to grow your business, and be true to the values that what you want to do by way of your business and growing. And speak with a consistent tone of voice. One thing is that you can't be wishy-washy. You have to definitely give your brand a character. And by character, I'm not talking about an icon. I'm talking about giving it life and offering it to customers. Hey, we stand behind this. At Emineo Media, the overall goal of what we do is to ensure that we educate and empower the small business community. That's one of the things that we actually continuously, strive on giving that voice. Don't be repetitive. One of the things that a lot of businesses go out there is it's the same thing. I know that within your elevator speeches, you have to have an elevator speech down packed. Normally, what I do, I change it, I modify it. I don't go in and overthink it, and I'll share within a couple of other slides. Don't try to mimic other brands. Look at what other people are doing. You do need to know what your competitors are doing, but don't try to mimic them. Be bold, innovative, and daring. Sometimes you have to be different. It's okay to be different, but you have to stand for what you believe in. Um, don't cheapen the brand. I know that there's a lot of people out there that they love to give discounts. When someone comes up to me and they ask me for a discount, I tell them no. It's my choice. It's my business. If I want to do something for free, then it's my choice. But the moment that someone comes in and asks me to do something, I use the hashtag, what's your budget? And if you don't have the budget, then I don't have the time. And it's unfortunate that a lot of times we keep in our brand because we're begging for business because we may be struggling. That's a personal choice that we realize. I actually have one of the students, Christina, and she does printing, and she had someone, trying to haggle her to bring her prices down. And when she called me, I said, stop it. Stop it. What you're going to do is that now you're going to shift and change everything. You're going to give them another price. You're going to double what it is that you're offering, and it's going to be a take it or leave it. You know what? It's a 50-50 chance that you're either going to get the job or you don't get the job. So you shouldn't have to beg for the job. You shouldn't have to beg for the business. And you know what? It worked for her because she did end up getting the business at the price that she wanted because I knew that they didn't have anyone else by way of the story that she was sharing. So don't cheapen it. You can give a discount, but let it be your choice, not because people are asking you for it. And please don't stamp your logo on everything. It's okay to actually have your logo with giveaways and so forth. But I've gone to events where I see people and that's all that they wear. They have a hat with their logo. They have a T-shirt with their logo. Everything is a logo. And I know that that's part of marketing, it's part of sales, but you don't want that to be everything. So by way of marketing your brand, I'm just going to give you some highlights, and then I'll open it up to questions. You have to identify who your target audience is. Once you know what your brand is and what your story represents, what you're going to market, how you're going to market, and where. Um, by way of resources, one of the things that I always encourage people to do, if your family and friends don't know what you sell, then you've done a really bad job of building your brand. Build relationships with them. Go out there and network. One thing that I will say about networking, I don't like to network. I cannot stand networking in this day and age because it's everybody and their mother coming up and trying to sell something. So what I've done is that I go out a lot of places and I actually stay quiet. I don't speak a lot. I let other people speak. I go to events and I actually want to find out who's the person that put the event together, who organized it, who's the person that actually is leading the charge, because I want to talk to the people that actually are in charge, not because I won't, communicate with other people, but I think we spend so much time listening to other people go on, and we don't want to be that person that goes on and on. So network, shake hands. Sometimes I go up to people and I just say, hey, my name's Orlando. I keep it very simple. One of the things that I've been using when I travel outside of Miami, normally I'm Orlando in Miami, but if I go to Tampa, I'm Orlando in Tampa. If I'm in Orlando, I'm Orlando in Orlando. So I keep it very simple and just create a dialogue because I love to do business with people that I trust and people that I like. And even when it comes to your social media, your website, I'm not going to go into any of that right now, but I just want to make sure that you do have an online presence when it comes to your brand. Don't cheapen your brand. I mean, spend some money on making sure that you have a professional website. Spend some money also making sure that if your brand needs to be on any platform that you do, but don't overthink it. Don't go on every single social media platform because a lot of your businesses, once you identify who your target audience is, you find out you don't really need to be on Twitter and you don't need to be on Instagram and you don't need to spend a lot of time on Facebook and you need to spend a lot of money on other platforms. You just need to make sure that your website is smartphone ready, mobile friendly, that when people go online, they actually look at it on their phone because we spend so much time on our phone. The reason being is because your brand can be found anywhere and everywhere. And once you understand that, it just becomes easier that you can Google people, you can Google businesses and find so much information about them. So make sure that by way of your brand voice, stay away from anything that's political, religious, or arguments. I've yet to know anybody that's been able to convert someone by way of expressing their opinion or by being hateful. One of the things that for me social media has done is it's given a voice to a lot of people that need to shut up because when all is said and done, my friends and my family are more important than any of my views. And like I said, I see people posting things sometimes, and I all I can say is that wow, that's a really hateful person. And for me, I try to live a different life, just not focus on that. And the reason why I say that is because in this day and age, you have to know what you want your brand to say and what's the voice that it wants that you want to share. Um, do you need to be online? Absolutely. This is what happens every minute while people are online. So if you're selling on Amazon, there's, look at the sales figures, look at Uber drivers or rides actually in every minute. So you definitely need to have an online presence when it comes to marketing and promoting your brand. Um, Transforming a brand into a socially responsible leader doesn't happen overnight by simply writing new marketing and advertising strategies. It takes effort to identify a vision that your customers will find credible and align with their values. Final thoughts. Define what your brand stands for, its core values and tone of voice, and then communicate consistently in those terms. The overall goal I wanted to do was just to give some insight. I normally do this presentation in about 3 hours, and it's more of an interaction. But I love doing webinars as well because now we can open it up for questions. Listen, that's my phone number. If you have any questions, if you want to talk to me, feel free, shoot me an email. If you do call me, send me a text message beforehand. I get inundated with people calling me and I don't pick up the phone because I'm tired of people calling me telling me I owe money to the IRS or people trying to sell something. But feel free to send me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn. But if you have any questions, please ask. I don't know how we want to do this, Laura Lee. By way of.
So I do have a couple of questions from the chat box that I'll share, but before that, somebody did ask for your email again, if you want to share that.
Okay,
Or if you...
can I go to the front? I'm sorry, let's go release. And email me, please. And if you guys want to talk this week, I've got an easy week. I was supposed to go to Haiti, and I'm not going because of the duress. So I have nothing to do.
Great. So there's a great question about from an owner of a franchise. So where, you know, this business owner didn't necessarily have a choice in the logo. They like it, but how, you know, how do you sort of stake your claim on that logo, or do you have any, you know, advice or guidance or thoughts on a franchise logo?
One of the things that the franchise logos, I mean, you can't change because legally, when you sign and you invest or buy into a franchise, pretty much the marketing and everything has been done for you. But what I do suggest people that actually are in a franchise setting, give your franchise your own voice by way of consistency. What's happening in this day and age right now, if you look at the franchises, if you look at KFC, there's over 4,000 KFC in the United States and over 1,600, if I'm not mistaken, Chick-fil-A. And Chick-fil-A has actually surpassed KFC because of cleanliness, because of everything that they've done. I will tell you that I am a creature of habit and I like consistency. So by way of the logo that they created, it's okay. But I think that if you come in and you provide an added value to your clients coming in by way of people answering the phone, by way of people greeting your clients when they may be coming in or meeting with you, you can actually design and develop your own training for them and just have people speak on your behalf because the logo may represent something, but I think that within your own store, you can implement a lot of things that will actually carry you, you know, and actually keep you in that family atmosphere, but actually set you apart because people believe in being treated, you know, with dignity and respect.
Great, thank you. And we obviously saw a lot of funny, you know, mishaps, brand mistakes. Can you share maybe a couple of examples of brands that have really just knocked it out of the park, brands that you feel have done everything right?
Yes. One of the key things that I look at is if you look at Coca-Cola, Coca-Cola actually has done a phenomenal job in creating a brand because what Coca-Cola sells, and a lot of people, the misconception that they have is that Coca-Cola actually sells soda. Well, no, what Coca-Cola actually sells is an emotion, an experience. Um, when you sit back and you look at the Bears during the holidays, you know that Christmas is coming. Coke actually had a couple of years ago, they went on a college campus and they actually had a marketing blitz, a branding that what they did was that they actually had soda machines for the incoming freshmen. And what they did was that everyone would actually pull out a Coke. But the only way that they can actually, or a bottle, and the only way that they can actually um, open it was to find the other person that had the key. So there were two bottles in that machine that actually represented, you know, or someone had the key. And I think that for them, the way of that marketing aspect has been phenomenal by way of their consistency. I think that right now the mishaps are pretty much, you know, front and center. But one of the things that you go back again by way of marketing, a lot of people, you know, have differences of opinion. But I think that what we really want to do as individuals is connect with other people. So Coca-Cola is one of my favorites that I've seen and I followed them because they're in essence just selling emotions. I mean, for those of us that remember, I love to teach the world the saying, you know, token of my, which is a consistent brand. That would be actually my top favorite. Another company that actually has done well. I mean, by way of what they're doing, even Google. When you look at Google, Google actually what they did was that they didn't invent the internet, but they actually organized it. They came in and they organized it, and it's to a point where what they're doing now is actually they started giving a lot of stuff for free, and everything was free, and now they're charging for us as business owners. We actually use Google Apps and so forth. So something that they started giving away for people to test. Um, they've actually have done a really good job by way of marketing what it is that they're doing. So
Awesome.
those would be my comments. Yeah.
Thank you. So we have a few more minutes here with everybody, who's listening, and I wonder if anybody has a specific question about your own brand, if you're going through a rebranding or if there's something that you would like input on. This is a great opportunity.
Yes, please ask questions. Feel free.
Mm-hmm. Here's another, just a follow-up question about Coke. This is a good point. They have a great brand, but they have been marketing themselves for generations, 2 generations of people. Does the logo itself say anything?
No, the logo doesn't say anything. They actually did say that the city represented the country, one of the countries. And actually, whoever asked me that question, send me an email, please, because I'll give you the actual history, because that was part of one of the actual presentations that I actually, I didn't add the slide, but how the Coca-Cola brand in different countries look the same. But I'll share that with you. But I think that sometimes the simplifying or the simplification of a brand actually is always better. I think that sometimes it can get convoluted when we add so much stuff to it. I call that the brand special effects. But within Coca-Cola, and they've been doing this for years, but I think that it's not only doing it for years. I think just being consistent. I think that if you look at Coca-Cola and let's say Pepsi, Pepsi uses a lot of musicians or artists and so forth to promote their brand. And what Coca-Cola has actually done is they've marketed their brand by way of experience, by way of relationships, by way of consistency. And right now, there's a study that says that 9 out of 10 people actually prefer the taste of Pepsi over Coke when it's a blind test. But when they realize that it's Coke against Pepsi, people change their actual opinion. I know that for me, I may like the taste of Pepsi better, but I love Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola to me just represents something totally different. That's the power of a brand, that it's that top of mind, that what you want your business to be with whatever services, that when people think of you, you are the top of mind. You are the first one that they think about when it comes to your products and your services, because you actually build a relationship with these people and these people trust you. That's why the value of relationships is so important.
Mm-hmm. Cool. How often would you suggest changing your logo?
You know what? I think that logos don't change; they evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Normally for us, our logo's been the same since 2010 when we started. And if you look at variations, the evolution of, every business that evolves. When you think of Google, and you look at the evolution of their logo, but then you have to go back to the history of Google. When Google started, it wasn't known as Google; it was actually known as Backrub. So the evolution has actually changed. So look at the evolution for those of you. I do have part of that. I actually do a presentation with Microsoft of the evolution of the Microsoft logo and their branding and marketing here in South Florida. And if you look at and I'll share that slide. You know what? I'll actually share that because they went through different stages of their logo that they kept evolving. But I think that you don't necessarily have to change your logo. You just have to make sure you have a consistent message. I do know that in 2014, one of the first classes here with the emerging leaders, there was one student that he just said, I'm changing my business. I just don't want to do, construction anymore. I want to go into commercial. So he actually changed the name to Ultima Builders. That's Moises. And it was great to see that he was willing to do that. But that's because he really hadn't taken his business to the level of where he wanted to go, which was government contracting and so forth. So you can evolve within a brand. You just don't want to continue changing it, because if you keep changing it, then people are confused. And but I thought it was this. Remember what happened with Coca-Cola when they actually changed the brand and they actually new Coke as opposed to classic Coke? People were in an uproar because of, and they changed the taste of Coca-Cola. So a lot of people are very consistent with their brand loyalty. That's what you want to create. Listen, I've had the same cell phone number since 1998. And when people come up to me and they say, "Oh, Orlando, I tried to call you, but you changed your number," I can call them a liar because I'm very consistent. And I'm a consistent with the brands also that I use, because that's what brand loyalty is all about. You don't have to definitely change it. You can morph it or modify it.
Cool. So here, a specific question about using color combinations in logos. And I noticed, Orlando, that your logo has several different colors. But this specific one is asking about orange, green, and purple. If
Right.
off
Well,
the
listen,
top of
and
your
purple,
head, you know about a combo.
purple represents royalty. So it's royalty. And you know what? Since we have that here, it represents royalty, and it's a combination. Orange is adventure, and green is growth. So you know what? You may sit back and think, depending on what it is that you're offering. You know what? The reason why we created these colors and the way we combined it is because we want to treat our clients and our customers, like royalty, and we want to continue growing within our business. That's why we chose green, and the orange just represents our enthusiasm to help you. Pretty much something like that in a nutshell.
Great.
Because you can tie everything together. It's just making sure that you think a little bit beyond that and don't overthink it. I think that as business owners we tend to overthink, but just simplify it.
And something.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think it's probably important too that it's something that you relate to and that you're proud of. Like when you were showing the Hershey's Kiss, it's great that there's a little hidden kiss in there. But for someone that's not noticing that, it seems more important that the business owner and the staff and the vision and all of that is connected to the brand more than those little kind of tricks. Would you agree?
Listen, in total agreement. That's why I asked, what's the story? What's the story behind what it is that you do? Why did you go into business? Listen, when we first started in 2009, the name of our company was TG Interactive. My business partner, at Air Force and Top Gun, that's what they called them. And that's what we named it. And I was never happy with the name, but sometimes you have to, listen and be attentive. And when we changed it and we went into the rebranding and Emineo, the word Emineo, it's a Latin word that means to stand out, to be remarkable, to be conspicuous. And that's what we do. We want to make sure that the businesses that we work with, reflect that. And for me, that's my passion. Part of what we do, it's making sure that it's reflected in our brand. And I think that, honestly, one of my favorite things to do, or my passion, is educating small businesses, for people in general, because there's a lot of information out there. And I think that you're right. You have to live and breathe and be comfortable and be proud, because the reason why you do this is simple. Now that you actually have this passion and this connection with your brand, when you go out there, now you're not that person that's selling. So if I'll ask the question, hey, listen, like you just said, Lord, the reason why Emineo Media, listen, the reason why we started business was because of this. The reason why we chose the name Emineo was because it reflects this. And what you're doing there is building relationships with people, as opposed to saying, well, what we offer is this, and this, and we do this. Because now it's a relationship. It's not a selling gimmick. And I avoid networking events because of that, because so many people want to come up to me and listen. Just because you have a title doesn't mean you have the capacity to do the job. And just because you don't have a title doesn't mean you can't do the job. So when people come up to me and the first thing that they tell me, I am the president, executive director, CEO, founder, XYZ, blah, blah, blah. At that point, I'm like, I'm so bored. Because what I want is to get to know the person. And I think that as business owners, you're the business owner. You don't need to impress anybody. You're the owner of the business. So why don't you impress people by way of knowing what your brand represents and build a relationship? So I'm glad you said that, because that's the overall goal of the presentation, is making sure that you breathe life into your brand by way of knowing why you started your business and going back to basics.
That's great. Orlando, thank you so much for your time. Everybody on the line, you have Orlando's contact information. He means it when he says to call or email. So yeah, much appreciated. I will get the slides to everyone, and this recording will be posted on iConnect. Yes, and thanks. Any final thoughts, Orlando, before we head off?
Listen, feel free. And like Laurie says, if you really want to pick my brain, feel free. Honestly, I enjoy talking to my listen the students that came in from 2014 and 15 for the emerging leaders program. I never met them, and I had to build relationships with them because we wanted to have a really strong program here in Miami. Then we needed to start building relationships with one another. And I think that the overall goal of what I tell them is, once you go through the program, you're graduate. This is a very elite program that we only graduate here in South Florida, 20 people a year. There are other programs out there that are great as well, but you guys are part of an elite program. And the more that you reach out to people, I mean, even when it's iConnect, I made mention of Christina earlier. Christina, who does printing here in South Florida, connected with someone in iConnect from one of the other states, and they were coming down and they actually did business together. Being an entrepreneur is a really lonely journey, but the overall goal is that when you connect with other people that are like-minded, the journey is no longer lonely. Now you have people to become your sounding board. Now you have people that you can communicate with and share. So take advantage of the resources that Interrise has, and take advantage of all these other, graduates from the program or even current students to ensure the success of your business. Because people genuinely like to pay it forward, and that's one of the things I encourage.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks
everybody else for your time as well. We will hopefully see you again soon. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.